Update Reddit.
Men of Reddit, what creepy things have women done to you? My 21st birthday, coworker took me out for drinks. His girlfriend came along. I used to work with her. Her boyfriend got me in his company after I got laid off. I vomited so much in her bathroom toilet, they went to bed. I woke up several times on her living room couch with her hand up the back of my shirt, rubbing my back. She'd notice I was awake, then go back to bed. Then come back a few minutes later. They broke up and he told me how much she wanted to F me. Oh, they were both old enough to be my parents, by the way. When I was in middle school, a friend of mine was absolutely fascinated by the fact that I had pubes. Didn't want to see my D. Just the pubes. When I picked up my 90-day chip in an AA meeting, this old lady seductively kissed my neck and told me congrats. While not interested, I still sprang a boner. AA, the goods are odd but the odds are good. Came back to the dorm to find a girl who I didn't know waiting for me. I had apparently served her food once at the campus food place I worked at. She figured out who I was and where I lived without even my name. Not sure how I managed to shoo her out peacefully, but I did. Sucked my blood from an open scab without informing me she was about to do so. She considered herself a vampire. You just ruined my dinner. Faked her own death. Faked a terminal illness. Faked a miscarriage. Faked a suicide. Stole over $5,000 from me. Gave me a VD, made it my fault. The list goes on. It's my fault for believing any of it. But she hunted me down like easy prey when I was easy prey. I hope you really are dead, Andrea. F you. Hey, I have one like that. F you, Aaron. Just started dating, showed her a pic of my son, she then asked what I was going to do with him once we had kids. Well, at least she did you the courtesy of filtering herself out rather than making you figure this out way down the line. A girl borrowed my hoodie in 9th grade, masturbated on it and gave it back to me. She was really a disturbing girl but didn't find out until that happened. De. Oh man, when I was younger, 22 I think, I signed up to work an event at the job I was at. I had to work a table with an activity and help these Girl Scout craft something. So these two approximately 13-year-old girls came up and started making crafts. Then they asked me for my phone number and I told them no. Then they asked my name and I told them no. They constantly asked for both of those, and I refused. A female coworker came up and started chatting with me. The girls then asked her for my info and she gave it away. I was pissed. And thinking back, I'm still pissed. One of them started texting me immediately. I told her to stop and she laughed and walked away. I blocked her number. The next day I got a FB friend request from her and blocked it. Then I started getting messages from her. The same coworker gave her my work email address and MySpace account. She was very persistent in getting me to talk to her and I hated it. Finally I messaged her troop leader and told her about what was going on. She just said she'd take care of it and I never heard from her again. I think not just her age but how persistent she was what creeped me out the most about her. What your coworker did was wildly inappropriate. I would have told my supervisor. And I'm glad you contacted the troop leader. That sounds crazy. I was super drunk, passed out on my friend's couch. His friend was there also. I woke up to find her straddling me and pouring whiskey down my throat. It was super not needed. I was destroyed. Apparently she had sex with me that night. Can't say I consented as I wasn't conscious. That's rape. A girl licked my knee at a club. How much are you worth? Walking from school in a big gaggle, I overhear a girl like 20 feet down, at full volume, say, I could have sex with Smilespace anytime I want. I mean, she could have. But still kinda creepy, I guess. That's when you yell back to her, so why haven't you? In the middle of lifting, I was interrupted by a woman who told me I'd make a great stepdad. No clue who she was, but I did nope out quite fast. I've had women grab my crotch and rub themselves on me. No, none of them were hot. One of them told me point blank, "I've seen your wife, you've seen my husband, I think we can both do better, don't you? Come on, we'd make such a great pair." Girl I dated made a voodoo doll out of her used tampon and my hair shavings from my electric razor that she said she'd use on me if we ever broke up. She buried it inside a lunchbox at the beach and drew a map to find it. She's now a married mother of 2. Searched my apartment, phone, camera, computer, and everything else I owned the first time I left her alone in my place because she wanted to know more about me. She ended up creating a version of my personality she interpreted through my things. A girl grabbed Maya and fingered my butthole a little while I was in Mexico. I was just watching the Day of the Dead dancers and blammo finger in my butt. Turned around and saw a little Mexican woman slip through the crowd. My girlfriend was like, "Why'd you jump?" And I explained I just got a finger in my butt. She showed up at my apartment back in college. She knocked on the door and I didn't answer. It was late, I was tired, and I didn't invite her over. She kept knocking louder and louder. The police arrived and asked her to leave. She left and showed back up about 5 minutes later. She knocked some more and finally gave up. The next morning I found a human turd on my doormat. Maybe she was just desperate for the toilet. As a young teenager, this big girl would aggressively grope me every chance she got on the school bus. The bus driver wouldn't believe me because women don't do that and/or guys always want it. One day I was walking to my seat, she grabbed my crotch so hard it hurt and said, "You're not a real man until you split dark oak." She was a black girl in case that pickup line didn't make sense. I started walking home or bumming rides after that. Dark oak? Geez. Ebony or mahogany would have made way more sense. Pulled my pants down in the middle of a tailgate party. It was my wife's surprise b-day party. It wasn't my wife who pulled my pants down. In the 5th grade, we were starting the family life lessons, which is basically sex ed. One of the girls in my class pointed at me and said that I would impregnate her. I hope she didn't know what that meant. I woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and my GF followed me and sat outside the door to wait for me and I didn't notice. Opening up my bathroom door to see a humanoid figure sitting in the dark by my feet at 3 in the morning scared the ever-living S out of me. My 2-year-old does this to me constantly. Scares the S out of me every time. At age 14 I visited my sister in a mental ward attached to a hospital. Cigarette why middle-aged women kept making passes at me. It wasn't an all-female institution or anything. Is that how we describe smokers now? When I was in medical school, a girl 3 years my junior started obsessing over me. Initially it was kinda mild in the "I have a crush on you" sense. She'd ask my friends about me and messaged me on SOC Med from her friends' accounts. Chalked it up to being young. Then she started to mess with girls that I'm close to, including my sister. Telling them that they don't deserve me and that I'm hers. Also started hanging out at my neighbor's place and refused to leave until they call me out for some stupid reason and whatnot. And she'd hang out in the neighborhood I live in and pretend that we've bumped into each other on accident. Oh, and I would occasionally post music I like on FB or Twitter and she would post music of her own as a response because she's convinced that all those music I post is for her. Then in my final year she wrote this 80-page letter in which she professed her love and compared me to some Messiah S. Oh, and the best part, it's been a few years since then. A few months ago she started working where I am. The nightmare F continues. PL's post 80-page love note. After 3 or so dates started talkabage like we were engaged. When are we going on vacation together? Should we get married in a church? How many would you like us to have? I called it off after that. So she threatened to tell the police I raped her. Luckily nothing ever came of that. First date. Her, what's your blood type? Me, O positive. Why? Her, good, we can have kids. Me, breaks world record for fastest run speed. Made an alt for this. It's become the dark event that's divided our town. It happened to a friend I knew. Real bright, had a well-paying job. One day he parties with this girl. She claimed he raped her but refused to speak with police. Despite this and despite the fact that he had recorded a phone call with her admitting she was lying, his life was ruined. I watched him go on a downward spiral, and I had a couple decade-long friends turn on me just for being around him. Well, a year and 6 months after the allegations, he started getting phone calls from her, demanding money. He agreed to meet her in a hotel room. Once she arrived, he shot and killed her, then turned the gun on himself. It's taken a long time to cope. And it scares me how moments after any allegation, people form a mob for justice. I know victims should be encouraged to come forward. But when a guy has proof, the girl wouldn't go to the police. She willingly met him in a hotel room after essentially trying to blackmail him. That should be enough to prove one's innocence. I lost a good friend. So he had proof, but people had already decided he was guilty based purely on accusations, and refused to hear it? Sorry for your loss. You have met Cat Pope. Do not leave without commenting Amen.